out step by step on my idea of how to do a branch audit. Okay, so first of all, to understand that this is just a video showcasing my opinion. Okay, these are my views, what we would say, but these are not to be taken as professional advice. It's not professional advice, first of all, and most importantly, it is not a substitute to guidance note by ICI, regulations, rules, and master circulars, directions by RBI. It's no substitute to any of these. Right, let's get on with it. So first of all, it is not like taxation where all the circulars and notifications are independent. It's like the process. I wish GST was not like what it has been. That's a mass of notifications and all. But what the RBI does is usually issue some master circulars and master directions which combine and consolidate all of the previous notifications and therefore discharging all of these previous circulars and notifications. So whenever a master direction is issued, it means it has consolidated some rules and regulation, and the master circulars which were issued before are also given in the annexure of the master direction are withdrawn from the date of issue of such master direction. So this is one of the important points in understanding the rules and regulation, and master directions and master circulars are kind of important, and these are the starting point of understanding what is the banking regulation like and what you have to check, because what you are doing is a statutory audit, and what does the statute say? That is the master directions and circulars. Okay, so the first step, after all, what do you do after you receive the appointment letter? What should be your next step? The first step is to have the ethical clearance in accordance with our ICI norms, our standards on auditing and Companies Act, because all of these bank audits are usually from a banking company, and for that you need to have clearance of 141 section of the Companies Act. For standards on auditing, you should have SQC1 plus SA 220. These should be complied with, and as per ICI norms, the code of ethics should be complied with. Okay, so you should be independent and you have to give certain declarations along with the appointment letter that you should reply. The second is you would be given information about the previous auditor, usually of who was the previous auditor of the branch, and you have to obtain professional clearance from them as well. That is, you have to write an NOC. And a bank audit, because the appointment received requires a confirmation within 2 to 4 hours. That's usually a time bound manner. What you have to do is get this NOC really fast. So what you can do is email the previous auditor and specify days beyond which, if the reply is not received, you have to say you have received it, deemed no objection. But if the NOC is taken over phone call, it is not considered as a proper NOC. It's not a proper NOC. However, you should give a conditional acceptance, and this is also given from the Code of Ethics volume 2020. The same has been taken. So you should give a conditional acceptance that I accept this branch audit provided the NOC is given from the previous auditor in due time. Okay, so this is a conditional acceptance. You can take the words from this para 2.414.81. Okay, and what's the next step after NOC? You have to make an engagement letter, because the appointment letter is what the bank issues to you, and now you have to issue the engagement letter back to the bank. And what it does is understand that you have to determine the scope of the audit, and according to the scope you have to work. If there is anything beyond the scope, you're not required to work, and for that you need to define and trim down the scope in your engagement letter. These are the terms of your audit, and most importantly, the engagement letter that also makes sure that the preconditions for the audit are set. And for those who are in inter or in final, know that the preconditions for an audit as per SA 210 are as follows. The first is applicable FRF. What is FRF? That is the Financial Reporting Framework and Regulations. What is the applicable FRF? So the applicable FRF is the gap regime, or better called at accounting standards, which is also by the RBI as well. A lot of things are defined by RBI, what has to be done, disclosures and all. That is your gap regime. And then the second point is DMIC. DM of that is design, implementation and maintenance of internal controls by the management. Okay, that is your second step. So the management should agree that they are the responsible person for preparation of financial statements in accordance with the identified FRF, and they have to design, implement and maintain internal controls related to the financial reporting. The third and the most important one in this aspect, the third precondition is the management should agree to provide information and explanation. Info and explanation and access to information, basically. That is the main concern for bank audit as well. So you should have the info as well. So this is what this 210 emphasizes. And make an engagement letter. The format is given under the guidance note by ICI, and you have to get it signed by the branch manager, because even though you're appointing authority, the agreement you are making is with the management of the bank, but that's something they would not respond to individually to all of your branch auditors. So you have to get it signed from the branch management. That's your appropriate authority to get it signed with. You can also address it to the head office and put it on the email. Not an issue. You should put it in the CC as well, because your engagement letter should be sent through mail, and what you get is a signed one back. Okay. And you can also do a dispatch to the appointing authority, that is your regional or central office. Okay, now what you have to do is make the call to the branch. What is calling the branch? The call is to understand preliminary what areas are covered. First is the nature of advances, whether the branch has more MSME advances, or whether it has agriculture credit, or whether it has corporate exposure, or whether it has restructured advances, etc. So that is what you want to do. What is the total value? Because one thing, your fees also depends on the total value of the advances. Okay, the NPV, the restructured accounts, it should not be NPV, the NPA should be NPA, and restructured accounts. What were all of these? You have to understand. And now again, what you have to do is plan the travel. If the branch is not in your city, they have to plan the travel, and you have to do it according to the reimbursement policy, so you don't thin your margins. Then what you have to do is compile a list of the certificates to be attested given the appointment letter. You do not have to sign anything which is not given in the appointment letter, and therefore you have to compile a list of certificates. That's something you want to do. And for this you need to first do the few things. Is first you read the appointment letter thoroughly, you respond to it after you read it thoroughly. Then you have to get the closing instruction for the branches. What is the closing instruction given by your head office, central office, zonal office for the closing of branches? The head office, zonal office would provide these circulars to you as well, so that you can check whether the closing is done appropriately. And then what you will receive is some instructions from the SC as well, if there are any things that they want to emphasize. And one more thing, the SCs decide if the branch is to be considered under IFC FR testing, that is the internal financial controls over financial reporting testing. If it's given to you under your appointment letter, you have to put the IFCFR. You have to put the IFCFR in your engagement letter as well. Similarly for tax audit as well. Usually it's not done. If there is tax audit as well, then you have to put it under the EL as well. Okay. Now some key documentations at this point are: first, you get the appointment letter from the bank. You also ask for the circular receipt from the bank. You need to have communication from the SCA, that is what they want you to do. Then you should send the engagement letter to the branch. You should have your independence declaration to the bank. You should get your independence declaration from your audit team and also to your partners, because that is important for the appointment. Okay, and NOC should be sent to the previous auditor. So this was part 1 of bank audit.